112 million people. That's 35% of the United States population. And those people could be screwed. In today's video, I want to explain what is going on. And in the end, I want you to know what's actually coming. And I want to know if you saw this coming. Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people are listening to the news, hearing all the great news that's going on. And one of the things that I'm trying to do a little bit better of is reporting more positive news. But the problem is there's so much negativity right now. There's so much bad stuff happening. There's a crisis upon a crisis upon a crisis. And it's going on right now. So here's what's happening. And let me know your thoughts at the end of this video. First, I want to give you some very important figures. First, housing supply has jumped by 19% in the last month. You're probably thinking this is really good. This means real estate prices are coming down, right? Well, not really. The median home listing price has jumped to $450,000, which is a 17% annual increase. So housing supply is increasing, but the listing prices are also increasing, which is weird. Now, these are moderating slightly, but they're still going up. But here's where things get a little out of hand. Owning a home is now less affordable than ever before. It now takes 31.5% of the average U.S. wage in order to afford a mortgage payment. You're probably thinking, well, 31% of my wages, that's not bad. That is not bad. I would gladly pay 31% of my wages. Here's the problem. For a lender, typically, they want to see you under 28% of your wages are going towards housing. This means you're 3.5% over what a lender is pretty much going to accept, meaning more and more potential buyers are getting turned down due to the increase in price and also the increase in interest rates. But here's why 112 million people are potentially screwed. Being that housing is less attainable, it's harder to get into a new home or even an existing home. It's harder for people to secure financing. And because of that, currently rents are soaring. Rents honestly are not expected to go down in quite some time. And it is actually due to the amount of affordable housing units, but also the upward pressure to home ownership being unattainable for many families. And again, I said this before, home ownership is harder to get into now. But think about this, and this is why potentially 112 million people are screwed, because that's the amount of people that are renting. Let's just assume you cannot afford to buy a home because prices are too high. We have interest rates pushing 6%. And the fact that buyers don't have the down payments available, which they once did, this is all putting more and more upward pressure on the markets. It's also putting more pressure on renters, which means landlords hold pretty much the majority of the power. Now, there used to be an argument that renting a home is better than buying, right? Well, then we got to this point where home prices were just so insanely overvalued, right? Home prices just shot up and rent prices didn't actually follow. They stayed the same. So we got home prices that shot up, rent stayed the same, and that was a good time to actually rent, because that meant if you rented and waited for home prices to come back down, you could potentially be saving some money. Well, again, the argument that renting a home is better than buying. And people said this because if you want to buy a home, well, let's say you're going to rent a home instead of buy. You don't need a down payment. You need the first month's rent. You need last month's rent and usually a security deposit. That's what you need. Now, to buy a home, you would need probably a $10,000, $20,000 down payment. To get into an apartment, you could potentially get in for $5,000 to $6,000. Big difference. Also, by renting, you're not responsible for fixing any of the issues that comes with the apartment. I say the roof leaks, you don't have to fix it. That's on the landlord. You won't be required to pay any increase in property taxes. Now, if you are locked in with your lease, then the landlord can't do anything about it. They are going to pay the property taxes, and if they come out ahead, great. If not, so be it. You are in your lease. And also, you're flexible with your lease. So if you want to just up and move, because let's say you change your job, you don't like the location, whatever it may be, you can do that. It's much harder to do with a home if you own it. But now that rents are increasing, there's actually more demand for an apartment. And this, again, this isn't so easy to determine, which one's better, renting or buying, because again, every situation is different. But what housing experts are saying right now, you should avoid moving at all costs. Do not buy a home. Do not move apartments. And if possible, don't rent a single family home, because those could be sold easier than if you were to live in an apartment complex. Also, they say right now they are seeing the highest increases in rent so far in 2022. Okay, again, these are single family homes. These are seeing the highest increases in rents. This is one of the reasons why some are saying that if you want to rent some inside of an apartment complex. Do not rent a single family home, because you'll be more likely to get an increase to your rent. So here's what we are hearing today. For the remainder of 2022, experts say, be careful with what you are doing when it comes to housing. You do not want to overpay for your existing apartment just because other people are not happy with where they live. This is one of the reasons why experts said this even last year, and I told you guys this 2 years ago as well, is experts were telling us and recommending you lock in your lease. Lock it in for 1 to 2 years and protect yourself from inflation. Protect yourself from rising rents. Just protect yourself in general. That's what they're telling us. So right now, I just want you to understand that if you are renting, and let's say you're renting a single family home and you're thinking about moving, experts say don't move. But at the same time, they say don't rent a single family home. So if you can lock in a lease, they recommend you do that. Lock it in, because even if the apartment or the single family home would sell, you could potentially stay on as a tenant for the remainder of your lease, and then the new owner would take care of the property after that. So again, there's some upsides here, but I just want you to understand that right now renting is one of those things that a lot of people are worried about, because we are seeing increases. Some of these increases are 50, 100%. So if you used to pay $1,000 for your rent, and now all of a sudden the landlord wants $2,000, well, they can do that because there's not a lot of rent control out there. All right. But let me know, did you see this coming over the past 2 years? Did you see this coming? I can tell you right now, I did. I knew this was going to happen at some point, because there was going to come a time where people would not be able to afford a home. And if they couldn't afford a home, but they needed a place to live, they got one other option, is to go and rent something. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. So let me know down in the comment section below. Did you see this change coming? And if you did, what are your thoughts on it?